It may be a dead period, but when it comes to the news of Texas Tech men's basketball and the rumors in the portal, there's no such thing as a dead period. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. Appreciate y'all spending some of your Wednesday night with me. Well, before the Mavs play, that's what I'm looking forward to tonight. But I appreciate y'all tuning in. As I mentioned, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the chat where you are watching from. I think last live we did last week, we had somebody watching from China. Then we had somebody from Brazil. We had somebody all the way in Norway. Let me know where you're watching from. I know a lot of you guys are going to be from Texas, but let me know in the comments where y'all are watching from. And be sure to like the video if you haven't already. All right, we've got a absolutely jam-packed show tonight, and I think I'll probably go to around 6 o'clock talking about Texas Tech men's basketball. We'll be talking about the latest commitment for the Red Raiders when it comes to the high school ranks and a four-star point guard, the last top 100 ranked player in the class of 2024 commits to the Red Raiders. We'll talk about him and his skill set. We'll also have, the latest updates on 3 big portal targets, including one that committed elsewhere today. And then, of course, we'll discuss everything that, y'all want to bring up in the chat. But before we get there, let me know where you're watching from tonight. And if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. And if you're watching, you might as well subscribe too. This is the only podcast on YouTube that's giving you quick hitting information on everything Texas Tech men's basketball and football all year long. There is no off season here. There is no off season. What's an off season? I don't know. You don't know. So that's why we're great together. That was a little weird. I'm going to take a step back on that front. But be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. All right. Let's see who we've got all in here so far today and where everybody is watching from. I will go up and answer the questions that people left before. Y'all will get priority in the Q&A. I appreciate y'all jumping in early to the chat and really getting things going. All right, let's see here. We got Matt, who's watching in Philly. I do wish Tyrese Maxey was a Mav, but I digress. We got Brandon from Lubbock. We've got Lubbock again. And then we got Corey. I'm watching from home. Nice, Corey. I'm doing this recording from home. And then we've got Joseph Duncan from Springfield, Missouri. Keep getting those in there, guys, and tell me where y'all are watching from. Hunter just jumped in and said Midland, Texas. But while that's going on, let's talk about the newest Red Raider, because I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm pretty excited about him, and it's Christian Anderson Jr. It depends where you look in terms of his ranking. I know going into a couple weeks ago where buzz started to pick up, he was 116th in the 24/7 sports rankings for the class of 2024. Actually ended up at 101, I believe, and at some sites even had them in their top 100. But he committed to Texas Tech on Monday, May 20th, and he's a guy that I truly believe can come in and be your backup primary ball handler behind Elijah Hawkins. I actually like the fit really, really well in that regard in this sense. Elijah Hawkins is the clear-cut primary ball handler, point guard, going to be the key to the engine. I mean, it's going to be phenomenal to watch a guy that had more assists last year than field goal attempts. Like, that's nuts. And we talked about that crazy stat on the channel before, but he's arguably the best passer in all of college basketball. And now you think about some of the guys that are on this team currently right now, as we will discuss other guys here in a little bit. You think about Kerwin Walton, a guy that shot nearly 50% from three. D5 shot north of 40%. You know, you look at other guys. Chance nearly shot 40%. And you go out and add a guy like Kevin Overton, who can also shoot the ball really, really well. And then you also have a guy like Anderson who can shoot the lights out. He shot 49% as a senior at Oak Hill last year. The reason I bring Elijah Hawkins up is because he's going to have a bulk of the minutes at the primary ball handler position, aka the point guard spot. I don't think anybody, that's not rocket science, but I think Anderson can come in and give you maybe 10 to 12 minutes a night. As a true freshman, he can play on the ball or off of it and be an absolute sniper on the outside for the Red Raiders. And oh, by the way, he's really good in the pick and roll for his age as well. And I say for his age because the pick and roll is one of the finer nuances in basketball, in my opinion. I think that there's guys that really know how to do it, and I think that there's guys that have the skill set to do it, and for one reason or another just can't at a high level. Anderson can. He has a high basketball IQ, and he plays at his own pace, what feels like every play of the game. Like the game in its pace is dictated by him and nobody else. Now, obviously, things can change in that regard going from Oak Hill to the Big 12, and likely will. There will be some growing pains for him. But I think overall, this is a prospect that's going to help you this year. And then if he stays on campus, because let's face it, you're recruiting guys year in and year out with the portal. There's no such thing as a guy staying really 4 years anymore. He has the potential to be your starting point guard in 2025 and 2026. So in theory, you could kill two birds with one stone in getting him to commit to the Scarlet and Black. When I watch him play, I've mentioned it here on the channel a couple times as well. He reminds me of Trey Burke. He's a guy that's really shifty, a little bit smaller, really good shooter, but also just commands the floor when he's on it. And he's also a really good passer as well. So he's a guy that really, really excited me when Texas Tech landed him. And a guy that I'm really interested to see kind of the role that he carves out as a true freshman, because I do think that there's other guys on this roster that can be the primary ball handler for stretches, right? You think about KO, D5 can do it. You've got Chance, right? But I think when you look at it, Christian Anderson has the potential to be that backup primary ball handler for the Red Raiders next year in year number 2 of Grant McCassim. All right. Again, like the video if you haven't already. Appreciate everybody spending some of their Wednesday night with me. Let's get to some of y'all's where y'all are watching from. We got Landon down in H-Town. We've got Don the Trader. Not like that. I think it means like trading stocks or Pokemon cards for my generation. Got to catch them all, you know what I'm saying? From Nashville. Then we've got Ed Roberts from Fishers, Indiana. Devontae asked, are you a bigger Stars or Mavericks fan? It's a great question. We'll answer that here in a little bit. The neat thing about Anderson, we'll get to that here in a little bit too. I'm trying to see where y'all are all from. We got Robert from Hale Center, Texas. Also, stay safe if y'all are up in the Metroplex area. There's a bunch of hail, thunderstorms. Stay safe out there in that regard. But I want to talk about the latest portal news. We're 8 minutes in. I know what y'all are here for. Don't let this face fool you. Okay, I know that this face makes you think, wow, he may not be the smartest guy in the world. He might not be. And some of y'all are thinking, yeah, I still think that, even though what you're about to say, RC. And that's okay. But listen, like, I know what y'all are here for. Y'all want to know what's going on in terms of the portal. So let's start with the one that no longer need to worry about if you're Texas Tech, and that's Jordan Riley. Why do you not need to worry about Jordan Riley if you're a Texas Tech fan anymore? Well, he committed to East Carolina earlier today. So he was a guy that Texas Tech was going after. Athletic wing, 6'4", averaged about 6 rebounds per game last year at Temple. Started his career at Georgetown. Texas Tech had shown serious interest, and there was a rumor that some of us over at the Scarlet and Black Insider had heard that he was a secret visitor for the Red Raiders just a few days ago. I haven't been able to confirm that, so it's just a rumor, but it doesn't matter anymore. Now he's committed to a former Texas Tech coach that is an assistant for the Pirates at East Carolina, and that is, of course, Mark Adams. All right, before we get into the big name, because, again, I know why y'all are here. I know what y'all want to hear, so bear with me. Got to get to other news and notes. Jaylen Wells, 6'8", 205, averaged about 13 points per game last year, making the jump from D2 basketball to D1. Had a pretty damn good year up in Pullman for the Cougars of Washington State as a sophomore. Shot 41.7% from 3, and is going through the NBA draft process, much like JT Toppin, who, again, we will talk about here in just a second. Now, Wells is from Sacramento, California. We've talked about how he has a good connection and relationship with Darion Williams, the best player for the Red Raiders, and how their families are even close. There has been rumors that, well, even Jacob Harris over at Scarlet and Black Insider has said that D5 and Jaylen Wells' family are really close, and Jaylen Wells' dad has gone and basically insinuated that he would love for his son to play at Texas Tech. Does that end up in that result? Hell if I know. But I do think it's very interesting, all the connections, and he is a guy that Texas Tech has a lot of interest in. And I saw a question earlier. We'll get to it here in a little bit in terms of, can you land both Toppin and Wells potentially? Like I said, we'll answer that here in a little bit in terms of the info I know. But Wells is a guy, in my opinion, again, Texas Tech is very much involved in. I mean, very much. Like, he's going to be involved in Texas Tech's name, is going to be involved in his recruitment until he decides to go to Texas Tech or he decides to go elsewhere. And it's going to be really interesting to see his recruitment because, again, if you look at it from a Toppin and Wells perspective, right, in the sense of who has a better chance to get drafted higher, I would say Wells. That being said, I don't think it's going to be one of those deals where it's almost a foregone conclusion, let's say. I really believe that Jaylen Wells is like a coin flip to stay in the NBA draft. And that's actually an expression that I've gotten told before in terms of asking about Jaylen Wells, that a source told me like, hey, like, yeah, probably a coin flip. And, you know, maybe slightly leaning towards coming back more so than anything. I would personally be a little surprised if he did stay in, but you never know. A team can promise you and you respect that promise, you stay in and hope for the best at that point. But I'll tell you what, from the skill set perspective, he's a guy that really, really intrigues me. And I think if Texas Tech were to land him, and I think that's a pretty sizable if right now, just because, again, is he going to stay in or is he going to come back to college? And you know, some big time teams are going to be linked to him. I mean, there's been rumors about North Carolina. Arkansas, I think, had a little bit of interest, or that was a name that I heard thrown around for him potentially. But don't get it twisted. Texas Tech will be firmly involved in his recruitment if he does decide to come back to college basketball. And I don't think money will really be a factor here in terms of really, you know, potentially landing Jaylen Wells, if that makes sense for Texas Tech. All right, JT Toppin. I know what the hell y'all are here for. Y'all ain't gotta kid me. Before I get into this, though, we've got over 100 people watching right now. I'm going to check how many likes there are because I guarantee you there's not 100. Let me double check because I know there's not 100 likes right now. I just know there's 30. Come on. Like the video. I know y'all are watching. Hey, come on. We give you daily videos here on Texas Tech. Be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Help a brother out. Kind of deal. If you enjoy the content, all I ask you to do is simply like the video. It goes a long way in terms of helping the channel out. All right, let's get into JT Toppin because, again, I know that's why y'all are here. If you haven't already, head on over to Scarlet and Black Insider. I have a lot more information over there on the site. But this is what we have right now, and this is in conjunction with, Jacob Harris. This is what we have been hearing about JT Toppin, okay? Jacob Harris has a source telling him that he would be shocked if JT Toppin wasn't a Red Raider. I've had a source tell me, and obviously this has changed the new number, but I had a source tell me on Tuesday that Tech had offered close to or $1 million in NIL. Now the rumored number, again, rumored. If anybody tells you that they know the exact number that is being, thrown about to a player, they're lying to you. Always use the word rumored because NIL is nuts. But the rumored number is 1.2 million. Okay. I also had another source tell me a little bit on the same day yesterday. He said, would not be surprised if we hear something relatively soon on JT Toppin. He's going through the NBA draft process right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if he takes his name out of the draft, and I would be shocked if he does if he wasn't a Red Raider. So there you go. There's that on that front. And I'll say this even too. I mean, I woke up this morning to a text that said it's done regarding JT Toppin and Texas Tech. If you are on Scarlet and Black Insider, and if you're not, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Best basketball coverage for Texas Tech there is right now in the game. That's not a hyperbole. It's an unequivocal fact. When you look at the information we've had about JT Toppin, I mean, I put in a crystal ball projection. And again, I stand by that crystal ball projection 100%. A crystal ball, AKA a red radar, over on our site does not mean I thought JT Toppin was going to commit 3 weeks ago on the spot. It's more of from the information I had been hearing at that point that I thought if JT Toppin left the NBA draft process, he would be a Red Raider. That's where we're trending right now. It's taken a little while to get here, and it's been a roller coaster of a recruitment. There's no debating that. But all signs right now point to if JT Toppin were to leave the NBA draft, again, much like Jaylen Wells, if he gets a promise by a team that he's going to get picked in the first round, he might stay. And if he does, all the power to him. Go fulfill a lifelong dream, man. You worked your ass off for it. But if you were to return to college basketball, again, I would be damn near shocked if JT Toppin is not wearing the scarlet and black next year. That's everything I've heard, and these sources have been on it from the very beginning. And again, I'm not a guy that likes to throw around the source game because I find it annoying sometimes too, but I'm not going to throw their names out there. It's not fair to them in that regard. All right, again, one more time. Let me know where y'all are watching from. Got a few more people in here. Let me know in the chat where y'all are watching from and start getting your questions in here. Get those comments going, okay? I can see how many people are watching. We don't have that many likes yet. We can boost these numbers up. I promise you that. Yeah, let's get to it. All right. That's the information we have now, okay? And again, I'm not going to act like I know anything else, but that was the information that I had this morning, and more than happy to share it with y'all in that regard. All right, let's get to the comments and everything that happened earlier. And again, get your questions in. I will answer every question as long as the chat is going here tonight. And yeah, we'll be live as long as we need to be if y'all are asking questions and keeping the chat going. So here we go. All right. Brian asked, Toppin back in the mix, huh? Things are getting interesting. Yeah, I think Texas Tech is, I'd probably say in the driver's seat right now to land JT Toppin. I think that that's a fair way to describe it. Graham Gibbs asked, what's your starting lineup if we land Toppin? Okay. All right, let's assume they don't land Wells just for this argument. We'll do both. We'll give one if they land Wells and Toppin and just Toppin as well. I think if you just land Toppin, it's Fetty, Toppin, D5, Chance, or Kevin Overton, and then Elijah Hawkins. That's a hell of a lineup, people. If you land Wells and Toppin, okay, and Danny Hart, the comment right below, any chance they can land Toppin or Wells, or is it either or? No, they can 100% land both. Yeah. If somebody's telling you that they don't have the money for both, they're lying. Again, one point, you got to think about it from this perspective, people. Okay, like, and again, let me go on a soapbox here real quick. Maybe y'all will let me know if I sound like I'm just rambling or whatnot. But if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. How is someone going to tell you with a straight face that Texas Tech doesn't have money for both Toppin and Wells when they were reportedly in the mix to land Great Osobor? How are they going to tell you that? Like, we know what Great Osobor got from Washington. Was Texas Tech around $2 million? Fuck no. But at the same time, they were probably in that 1.5, 1.6. That was the rumor I was hearing. You could potentially get both Toppin and Wells for that, right? Like you could potentially do that, if not maybe just a little bit more. So there is definitely a scenario where Toppin and Wells commit to Texas Tech. How likely is it? I don't know. Again, Toppin is much more likely right now than Wells, in my opinion, from every information thing I've gotten from any kind of source, right? That's just what it is. So again, I think when someone says that, take it with a grain of salt because Texas Tech has got some money, people. Don't get it twisted. That tweet that the Matador Club put out yesterday about we need you to win, that was not a coincidence. Okay, like that was timely. They know what the hell they're doing over there. Backtracking to your question, Graham. Sorry about that. So that was the one without Wells. I think if you grab both Wells and Toppin, you go Toppin at the 5, Wells at the 4. Actually, flip that. D5 at the 4, Wells at the 3, Chance or Overton at the 2, Elijah Hawkins at the 1. And I'm telling you, if you have that starting lineup, let's just say it's Chance McMillan in it, that is a top 15 starting lineup at worst in college basketball. You got to think about it. You have 3 shooters in your starting lineup that shot 38.5% or higher with the best passing point guard in all of college basketball. Again, he had more assists than field goal attempts, okay? And then you think about JT Toppin, who is one of the best roll man in all of college basketball and a high flyer in his own right and really good in the pick and roll. Like, you got to think about it from that perspective, and I'm getting way too excited about this right now. Let's see. Devontae has, what are the biggest hits and misses of this offseason? That's a great question. The biggest hit so far, I mean, has got to be the guys that you've landed in the portal. Again, you got Elijah Hawkins, best passer in America, arguably. Guy in Kevin Overton that I absolutely love. He's versatile and a guy that I think can really be a key contributor from the jump. He transferred in from Drake. And then you got a guy like Fetty, right? Like Fetty squared, a guy that I think is really good on the defensive end. Does he have his limitations on the offensive end? Absolutely. But in terms of the pick and roll aspect of it, I think he's going to be much better than he was in Pittsburgh because, well, I think he's going to be used more effectively and more efficiently in the pick and roll. And he's going to have a guy like Elijah Hawkins helping him out. So there's that. When it comes to the biggest misses, I don't know if there's a miss per se, but the biggest sting of the offseason is losing Dave Smart. Like, you got a good coach in Jeff Linder coming in from Wyoming. Obviously, he has a long-term relationship with Grant McCassin, I think dating back 20 years or so. But losing a guy like Dave Smart is big. Dave Smart is one of the best coaches in all of college basketball. Couldn't be happier for him, though, in the sense that, you know, he got a head job at the D1 level. Got a couple of tech guys out there now, too. So I'm wishing him nothing but the best. And by tech guys, I mean players and staff members. So that's really cool. Let's see here. NIL has ruined college sports. We aren't going to college games anymore. We are going to minor league sporting events. There's no more college only. I would make it a law. A player gets NIL. Athletes that get NIL deals, they automatically lose their scholarship, plus must pay taxes on NIL money. They already do. They already do pay taxes on their money. Everybody does. That's how America works. I don't get it. And if you don't like NIL, why are you hating on the athletes? Get a bag. You would take a bag. You're telling me right now you wouldn't leave your job if somebody offered you $1 million? Come on. Don't do this pride shit. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. You know, looking in the mirror, if somebody told you, hey, I will pay you $1 million more than what your employer now is paying you, you would take that shit. And you're lying to yourself if you say otherwise. Now, on the NIL front, do they need guardrails? Fuck yeah. The NCAA is worthless, and you're seeing it. Like, there's a reason that they're being sued for the amount of money they are. This is not an athlete's problem. This is not a university problem. NIL and the epidemic of what the hell is going on is an NCAA problem because they didn't put any guardrails in place. Players should get paid. You know how much money there is in this shit? Like, get your bag. Is it a little crazy? Yeah, but that's the open market, baby. That's how this shit works. If somebody's willing to pay me $1 million and I don't even think I'm worth it, I'm probably going to take the $1 million. Let's be real. Okay. So you have to think about it from that perspective. Okay. The real issue here is not NIL. The real issue is that the NCAA is a corrupt organization that doesn't do jack shit. And they did put no guardrails whatsoever on this when they had plenty of time to do so. So don't get mad at the athletes. Don't get mad at the universities. Don't get mad at the coaches. Get mad at the NCAA. In fact, be happy for these players that they're being able to take care of their families. I've never been mad at that. That's what I want to do each and every single day. Probably the same thing for you. So weird comment, in my opinion. Weird comment. All right. This from Robert Baker. Are we going after another actual big with one of the last spots? Yeah, I think potentially, right? Obviously, Toppin in the mix there. But I think really what it comes down to is I think they're going to be really flexible with it, right? Let's play the hypothetical game here, okay? Just hypothetical with me. Let's say best case scenario happens, okay? You get Toppin and Wells, okay? You got one scholarship left. I think they're going to wait and see if maybe like a Joe Toussaint situation happens, or they can create a little bit, of leverage and, a surprise guy enters the portal for one reason or another, okay? Whether that's a coaching change, something happens, yada, 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 right? They want to have a little bit of flexibility with that in terms of pinpointing what they need. I think that that's what happens more than anything. for that potential last roster spot for Texas Tech in terms of the scholarships anyway. If they were, and again, this is a sizable if, at least with one of these guys right now, to land Toppin and Wells. All right. Landon, Matador Club post directly related to Toppin. It's hard as hell not to think that way, right? Like, I mean, it's not a coincidence. Like, let's think about it. Like, there's a reason yesterday when we were talking about it over on SBI, it's not crazy to think, I think it was 2 hours after, 3 hours after even, we put our little report on what was going on with Toppin. That post came out. Like, that's not a surprise, people. And oh, by the way, I've had multiple people tell me they were at an event where Cody Campbell himself, and again, I can't confirm this. This is speculation. I was not at this event, but Cody Campbell apparently at a donor fundraising event basically said Texas Tech men's basketball was going to have a player over $1 million on their roster next year. I can tell you right now, they don't have that. So y'all can read those cards. All right, let's get down here. Again, get your comments in here. And like the video if you haven't already. We got over 100 people watching right now, and we only have 66 likes by my count. We can do better than that. Like the video, help a brother out, and you'll get a shout out too if I answered your question on here and everything like that. All right. Devontae asked, are you a bigger Stars or Mavs fan? Probably Mavs fan. I'm just a bigger basketball fan in general. Yeah, go Mavs tonight. Mavs in 6, Stars in 5. Where Dallas is about to have the greatest run of any sports city maybe ever. We're going to win 3 titles in a calendar year. It's going to be fantastic. And I sound arrogant as shit right now and probably am jinxing my team in a way, so I'm going to shut the hell up. All right, let's see what else. Lucas asked, Wells and Toppin a legit option? Throwing $1.2 million at Toppin makes a guy think. We won't double down on Wells. He won't be cheap either. Yeah, I think that they can do both. Everything I've heard and everything we've heard at Scarlet and Black Insider said they can afford both. Now, will they land both? I don't know. TBD, But, the Toppin number, again, rumored at 1.2. That sounds like it's well on its way to potentially being done. I mean, I told you what I woke up to this morning in terms of a text. I literally got 2 words from a source that said it's done regarding JT Toppin. And then Trilly Donovan even posted that, hey, it's done if he decides to leave the draft. So there's that. Yeah, so I think that they can land both. Money's not going to be an issue there. I think Grant McCasland has done a phenomenal job at really selling this program to big money donors to say, hey, we have the coaching staff to win, right? Like you saw what Texas Tech and Grant McCasland did last year with a roster that was, if we're being honest about it, had no business finishing tied for 3rd in the Big 12. I mean, it had zero business doing that. And they did it. And so you think about it from that perspective, okay, like we got to have more money. That's just the name of the game right now. Like it or not, it is what it is in that regard. But I think you've really seen some steam. And I even posted this over on Scarlet and Black a couple of weeks ago, or not a couple of weeks ago. I apologize. This was 5 days ago, verbatim. I'll read you. This is the kind of information you're getting over on the Scarlet and Black Insider. If you haven't subscribed to it already, it's down in the description below, by the way. Fastest growing community of Texas Tech fans, most engaging group of Texas Tech fans on the internet, obviously outside of this community, of course. But this is legitimately verbatim what I wrote 5 days ago about JT Toppin when, remember, everybody thought he was going to UT. This is what I had before anybody else. I reached out to a couple of Texas Tech sources this morning and asked about where things were in the Toppin recruitment. One got back to me and said, Tech offered more money. Didn't give me a number, but Texas views Toppin as a priority and must-have player. It's going to be an absolute bidding war between UT and Texas Tech. That person also came back to me later, and it's the same person that said, hey, I heard Texas Tech offered close to or at least $1 million. We now know that that number, at least rumored, is $1.2 million. The next one, in terms of a source told me about JT Toppin 5 days ago, said coin flip, but Texas Tech has made up sizable ground. Expect a bidding war and Texas Tech to be aggressive and push the envelope to try and land JT Toppin. That was 5 days ago. Obviously, we've gotten a lot more information from that perspective, and I've done a little bit more reporting here as well. Yeah, I mean, you're in a really good spot to land JT Toppin, and I think you can get both potentially, Lucas, to answer your question. Also watching from Indy. Nice. Absolutely devastating what happened to the Pacers last night. I can't stand the Boston Celtics. Just can't. Ty, it's flooding here. Yeah, that's not ideal. Oh, yes, Don the Trader. I have been an options trader. I'm 91 years old. Shout out to you, Don. What's the secret, man? What is the secret? We've got Matt from Lowell, Indiana. A bunch of people in the Midwest today. We'd love to see that. Corey, I feel we're going to be an outstanding team next year in the Big 12. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Big 12. Let me get a drink of water real quick. You thought the Big 12 was a gauntlet this past year? Wrong. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. This year, the Big 12 is going to be maybe the hardest it's ever been. And the reason being is this. You're going to play 20 league games. 20. And you're not going to have a week off. You're going to play 2 games every week for 10 weeks straight leading into Kansas City. That's insane. Like, you think about some of the teams in this conference, right? You got Arizona coming in. I mean, Colorado did a hell of a job last year. They lost a lot of guys, but they made a little bit of a turning run, right? Arizona State, they just landed a 5-star center. Utah. But then you look at everything else in the Big 12, and it's like, oh, yeah, there's the gauntlet still. Yeah, it's going to be hard as hell this year. I think Texas Tech is in a really, really good position. There's no doubt about that. But, yeah, that's kind of where we're at in terms of the Big 12 stuff. I mean, we don't know the schedule yet, but 20 games in league play is absolutely nuts. Nutso type stuff. Don the Trader, happy haircut. Oh, yeah, I did get a haircut not too long ago. Thank you. Lawrence, I'm ready for football. Yeah, we'll talk about football more. I mean, once this team in terms of the roster is really set in stone, Lawrence, I promise you, we're going to be doing a lot more football content in terms of breaking down, quarterback position for Texas Tech, wide receivers, what we can expect from the offense, the defense, some standout players, everything in between. I promise we got you. But the portal's got to be the focus right now because this thing is scorching hot right now for the Red Raiders. There's no doubt about that. D. Wayne watching from Texas. Way to narrow it down, Wayne. Just messing with you, man. Appreciate you tuning in. Elgin, Texas for Lawrence. RC, I'm liking what you're giving Tech fans. Please keep up the good work. Appreciate you, Corey. Speaking of Wells, I saw the big Matt Wells was at Kansas State now. Okay, back to basketball. Yeah, he's actually been there for 2 years. This is his second year up in Manhattan. He was a special assistant last year. Let's see. Lucas again asked, concerned about the money for Toppin considering the locker room cancer that was Fardaws. Interesting. I get it. But I don't think you're going to have that problem. And I think there's a couple of reasons why. The reason most being is JT Toppin's he's just not Fardaws. Let's just say that. The other reasons being is Buff has known JT for a long time. And JT and Buff go back, I think, legitimately till when JT was like 13, maybe even before that in terms of the grassroots basketball aspect in Dallas. So they have a really good relationship, as does Buff with his family. And not to mention his best friend, Toppin, in terms of Toppin, his best friend is Jazz Henderson Jr. on the team. So you have that as well. I think that's really what it is, man. I don't really worry about that too much. I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and I'm glad you brought it up. But I think overall, it's not something that really concerns me in the sense of, oh, that's going to be a detriment to the possible success of Texas Tech. Also, I'll say this, call it a shot if you want. Grant McCasland is better at controlling a locker room than Mark Adams. It is what it is. Let's see. Brandon, sure they are. These universities make millions off these kids. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All right, let's see. Wayne, what is the team's floor and ceiling this season if we land Toppin? Yeah, I think if they land Toppin, obviously you got 2 scholarships to mess with, but I think you're a second weekend team. I really think that. You look at what Grant McCasland did with the team, again, that was fighting and clawing their way through injuries, and they made it to the NCAA tournament, finished 3rd in the toughest conference in America, tied for 3rd. Yes, I know the outcome in the NCAA tournament wasn't what you wanted if you were a Tech fan. You also played against one of the biggest Cinderellas in terms of – Cinderella is not the right word. One of the hottest teams that we had seen in modern college basketball, okay, in NC State. They went all the way to the Final Four. So, again, not trying to make excuses there, but you also have to think about it from the perspective of Texas Tech. We knew what they were. If they shot well, they had a chance to beat anybody. If they didn't shoot well, it's going to be tough. And they didn't shoot well against NC State. And I think that they've made a conscious decision to go out, get longer, get guys that can shoot, and also get guys that fit key roles in a Grant McCasland system to a T. And they've done that. Now, if you add Toppin, that's just, icing on the cake. If you know, you know. But I think for me, Toppin is one of those guys that elevates Texas Tech to that second weekend. I think right now they'd be a fringe, round of 32 type team. But if they landed a guy like Toppin, and then if they landed a guy like Wells on top of that, you're talking about legitimately a top 15 roster in all of college basketball going into the season. And that might even be selling it a little short. They would be absolutely tremendous. A lot of work to do. You got to get that, pen to paper and let it dry and get it in and everything in terms of the paperwork. But Texas Tech is in a really good spot right now in terms of the roster. The roster right now, as it stands with 3 scholarships open, is better right now than it was last year. And I don't think that that's a debate because you have a bona fide star that's proven it at one of the highest levels in all of college basketball in the Big 12 and D5. You got Chance McMillan coming back. You got one of the best point guards in America in Elijah Hawkins. Not to mention DC is coming back. You've got Kerwin Walton and his confidence. You got a plethora of guys, and I haven't even mentioned Kevin Overton or Fetty. So you're much, much better off right now than you were last year. And I think obviously the big X factor for Texas Tech is you got a coach like Grant McCasland that's willing to put his team in the best position to win and not, chase an ego trip or anything like that. Leroy logging in from Long Beach, California. Nice. Joseph, Wells, please. I can't believe we paid more than UT. It can't be only about money. Yeah, no, it's not. The relationships, man. Like, I know some people, I don't want to say this. Some people think money is the only thing, or think this relationship aspect of this in terms of this sport and college football and college athletics is overblown. You'd be wrong. Relationships are arguably the most important aspect of recruiting. And again, what have we talked about multiple times when it comes to JT Toppin? He has multiple high level relationships on this team. His best friend is on the team, Jazz Henderson Jr. Again, he's known Buff since he was a legitimate, not even in high school kid. Okay, so, and they're still good friends and their families are too. Yes, money helps. Let's put that out of the way, right? Money helps. We all know that. Money's nice to have, but it's not the only reason. And at the end of the day, the money was a big part of it, but also was the relationship aspect of it as well. So that's really what it comes down to. So you saying you can't believe we paid more than UT and it can't be only about money, tight lines, bass fishing, it's not all about money. It's about relationships too. This from Jerry, watching from inside a food truck in Lubbock, Texas. Nice. Big food truck guy. Had these tacos down the street here where I live in DFW. Absolute gas. Food trucks are so cool, man. Corey, can you tell me if Texas A&M is on, or did they went ahead and canceled the home? Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not even going to act like I know. I know that they scheduled a game for that weekend. But I haven't heard anything official in terms of the Texas Tech game or anything. So I don't want to speak out of my ass on that. But I'll let you guys know in a video for sure when I find out. Tommy from Thorndale, Texas, halfway between a weird place and Aggieland. I'm going to go ahead and guess that weird place starts with an A and also has the same name as a guy that breaks news over on Scarlet and Black Insider. I think I'm right. Anyway, Matt, any concern of Kevin Overton decommitting if they land both Wells and Toppin? No. Listening from Spring, Texas. This is Tight Lines Bass Fishing. One thing I've never done, roast me in the comments. I've never gone fishing. Roast me. Great content. Appreciate you tuning in. RC dropping a fuck no, a true Red Raider. My cursing isn't for everybody, but it is for me. Let's see. Do you think Texas Tech goes after another big before the end of the period? Yeah. By the way, I want to put this out there too. One more drink of water for me before I get into it. Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, I'm looking at it right now. I know there's over 120 people watching right now. I know we do not have 120 likes. Let's get that up, people. Help a brother out. All right. Answer your question. I have to preface something first. It's dead period. I talked about it early on, but we're 40 minutes in. I think this is a good time to bring it back up. It's dead period, so that means you can't have guys on campus and you can't go see them if you're a coach. Now, this ends June 2nd? June 2nd, I think. June 2nd. But you can't really do that, right? And so when you think about it from that perspective, you have to wonder, okay, obviously the priorities for Texas Tech, we know what they are. They're Toppin and Wells, right? Like we know that. But in terms of like official visits and everything like that, moving forward after dead period, we haven't gotten caught of any wind of that. But I do think a big is going to be one of the priorities, even if they land Toppin. So yeah. How does one build contacts and sources in this NIL era? Yeah, so great question. That's from Phoenix. No, I suck. I know I butchered your name, and I apologize. So yeah, this is my 7th year either covering or creating content around Texas Tech football and basketball. So I got my start. Nice little, I guess, blast from the past. I got my start at the student radio station at Texas Tech. I was the sports director there. I got to call games for softball, volleyball, and soccer, those 3 sports. But I got to cover everything. The first year I covered Texas Tech as a media member was the last year Patrick Mahomes was there. So I've been doing it for a minute, right? So I got to cover Patrick Mahomes last year in football. I got to cover an Elite 8 run. I got to cover a Final Four run. I got to cover multiple Texas Tech baseball teams that went to Omaha. I got to cover a national championship track team. Like, building contacts and sources for me has been like actually building relationships again with people out in Lubbock and across the country that have ties to Texas Tech. Because let me tell you this, if somebody tells you you can't be in the know on Texas Tech athletics unless you live in Lubbock, they're lying. The internet exists. A phone call exists. Texting exists. Does it help? Yeah, probably a little bit, but maybe like 5 to 10% max. I still think I'm doing a pretty good fucking job. And yes, I do cuss much, Patrick. Thank you for asking in the chat. That said, that's kind of how I met all these guys and all these girls that helped me out with information in terms of contact sources and all that good stuff in the NIL world. Well, now the NIL world. I knew them before this crazy world of college sports we live in. So great question there. Let's see. D-Wayne, I like it when he cusses. I like it when he cusses. Shows passion. It's just like the boys shooting the shit. Facts. You get it, Dwayne. In all fairness, this is not a family channel. The NCAA deserves this kind of language. Yeah, you're right, Justin. You're right. You're right. I apologize a little bit for cussing, but also at the same time, I'll give you like 3 seconds to turn this down. Fuck the NCAA. Disrespectfully. Smooth Toad from San Marcos, Texas. Devontae, final question, RC. Less about basketball and Texas Tech sports. Do you play golf? Thanks for the content, buddy. I do play golf. Am I good at golf? No. Do I enjoy it? Yes. Do I like drinking while playing golf? Yes. Am I better when I drink when I play golf? Yes, theoretically, because I'm enjoying myself more. But to tell you I would be good at golf is an absolute lie. My goal every time I go play golf is to shoot below 90. That's my goal. And try and at least down a six pack, to be honest. Another question here. This from Lucas. We've got, is Toppin our sneaky bounce? Our new sneaky bounce. I need this like I need air to breathe. I'm not going to say he's got like Tariq Owens level bounce or Zach Smith bounce, but he's bouncy. Yeah, he's bouncy for sure. Definitely a lob threat. He's a guy that is super intriguing, like in the sense of, again, he's not Tariq Owens. He's not Zach Smith before the knee injuries, right? But he's a guy that can go up there and get it close to the top of the box on the backboard. No doubt about it. How does existing guys feel with someone getting $1 million? That from Tight Lines. Yeah, I ain't even gonna act like I know, man. I think that's one of those deals where, you have to think about it from this perspective. Not everybody at your job gets paid the same. Not everybody at my job gets paid the same. Not everybody in the NBA gets paid the same. There's levels to it. That's how it works, and so I think that there's a little bit of adjustment for that in terms of the period that they have to go through in terms of realizing that. But I would think a lot of these guys feel very well compensated and also should also think this way, like, you're getting paid to play basketball, right? Like, this wasn't happening just a couple of years ago. Like, you're in a very fortunate situation. And I'm not saying you don't deserve to be fairly compensated for that, but also I think that there's some sort of mindset there. But I mean, every sense that I get, I think these guys just want to win, right? And if that means one guy's getting paid $1 million and it gives me a better chance to win, so be it. I think that's what it comes down to. Toppin or Wells, which is more likely? That from Joseph. Toppin. Yeah, Toppin for sure. The Matador Club is stealthily doing very well in NIL world, whether you're a fan of NIL or not. This from Nick M, by the way. As a Red Raider, we should be thankful for the passion and support of these folks and all donors. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals, man, where it's like, I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to do things in NIL in terms of like the construction of your collective. But Texas Tech has done a phenomenal job across really all sports, some better than others. I think that that's fair to say. But from the standpoint of keeping a lot of Texas Tech sports relative and the coaches actually that do buy into it, that they stayed pretty damn relevant in a lot of ways. There's some coaches on the Tech campus that are very hesitant to buy into it, but hey, that's their prerogative, right? But yeah, no, agreed 100%. I mean, I'm thankful for each and every one of y'all. I'm thankful for each and every person that donates to, the Matador Club, just supports Texas Tech athletics in general. It all goes a long way. This fan base is, I mean, the most passionate I've ever come across. I mean, honestly, it's an absolute honor to be a part of it and be able to say that I graduated from Texas Tech and get to interact with each and every one of y'all every day. So definitely enjoy it. This from Lawrence. Why isn't Darion Williams getting paid $1 million? They are going to pay Toppin 1.2. That would rub me the wrong way if I was Darion. He has proven it at Texas Tech. Fair point. I don't even want to speculate the number that he's getting paid. But I'll say this. I don't want to speculate the number, but I know it's not $1 million, if that makes sense. Like, it's lower than that. It's well into the six figures, though. For D5, and he deserves every penny of it. But again, I think it goes back to that whole thing, Lawrence, that I just mentioned. He wants to win. Sometimes you got to quote unquote overpay or whatever it is, your feelings about that 1.2 rumored number to JT Toppin. Excuse me. Yeah. So that's kind of what's going to happen. Again, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm just going to call you P. I'm sorry. When did Rated R RC come out? Hey, man, I got to tone the cussing down sometimes, I guess. My bad. I just get passionate, guys. Really, seriously, that's it. I just get passionate about some things. And again, 3-second delay. Hold on. Fuck the NCAA. Fuck UT. We move on. Would be crazy to have Toppin and have Cambridge as his backup bounce city at the 4 position. Yeah, that from Ty. Shout out to, is that Raider Ty? Maybe that's Raider Ty. Shout out to you. But yeah, no, and Cambridge is well on his way to recovery. I mean, he's posting on Instagram. He's doing 360 dunks. He's going through workouts. I was a skeptic in terms of I didn't know when he was going to be ready. I legitimately said on a couple videos here, I thought maybe he would be ready around Big 12 play. I'm kind of leaning towards the spot now where I think he's probably ready from the jump. And shout out to, the head man himself, Mike Neal. My goodness, what a phenomenal job by him, the head trainer for Texas Tech men's basketball, helping DC get back right. So good stuff. Let's see. Wells and Toppin would be interesting. Hard to start both without going small. Yeah, I mean, you could go small in theory, but think about the potential link. That's from the Smooth Toad, by the way. So again, we're playing the hypothetical game here. And before I give this hypothetical a little bit more thought, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell for 100% free daily Texas Tech videos here on the channel. Going to be trying to go live once a week. Maybe not next week, but the week after. It's going to be hard for me to go live on a cruise ship, but I'll do my best in terms of keeping y'all up to date on everything and appreciate y'all tuning in. But again, like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. All right, this from the Smooth Toad. Again, Wells and Toppin would be interesting. Hard to start both without going small. You're 100% right. But I do think that you think about Texas Tech last year, what was their best lineup? When they went small. Even when Warren Washington was healthy, like when they went small, Texas Tech was really, really good. And the metrics back that up. Okay. So in theory, you get a guy like JT Toppin, 6'9", 6'7", whatever the hell he's listed at. I mean, he's 6'9". Let's just go with that. Then you've got a guy like D5 that comes in and he's probably around 6'5". You've got Wells potentially, 6'8". Chance McMillan, maybe Kevin Overton, depends who you start at the 2. They'd be 6'3" to 6'4", and Elijah Hawkins. But you think about it from the perspective of the offensive side, okay, Texas Tech is running and gunning. They're really good in the pick and roll. Everybody on the floor can shoot, including JT Toppin, who has worked on his jumper this offseason. You also think about it from this perspective. You have a lot more length in there, right? You think about it. JT, Wells, Williams. Let's just go with Kevin Overton in this scenario. Those are 4 really lengthy guys, right? In terms of 6'5" or taller and provide, wing type attributes. Then you got Elijah Hawkins, who's pesky on the ball defender with active hands, a little bit smaller, about 6 foot, 6'1". But you're right. You would play small, but you would also have a multitude of options if you were Texas Tech. So that would include DC coming off the bench. That would include Fetty coming off the bench, Walton coming off the bench, Anderson coming off the bench. You'd have a plethora of options from a lineup strategy standpoint to go with. So I think you could test it out, see how it goes. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Then you put Fetty in there alongside Toppin, or figure out whichever way you want to go. Again, the best aspect of this is you have Grant McCasland, who isn't afraid to try new things and not get dead set in his ways, like a coach that, coached Texas Tech prior to him. Is Texas Tech more likely to go for an Oak Hill Academy big or a mid-major big, assuming Toppin is in the mix? Yeah, with Toppin in the mix, I truthfully don't know on that front. I'm not even going to act like I know. Again, it's dead period, and I think that their focus right now is on Toppin and Wells. And so I think you're going to hear more once everything kind of cools off on that front, and that'll happen really probably this time next week. That's when they have to have their names out of the NBA draft process. So we'll know a little bit more on their future and everything. But as it stands right now, I have not heard really any other names outside of Toppin and Wells, and then Riley, of course. But we talked about Riley a little earlier and how he committed to East Carolina earlier today. Is it a major flex if you beat the Longhorns in a bidding war? Yeah. Yeah. For sure. This from Jace and Alexis Baker. If we are throwing that kind of money at basketball players, are we throwing the same at football players? You betcha. Yeah. I think really what this comes down to in the sense of everything from the money standpoint, right, is football is a little different in the sense of you get that 25,000 lump sum, right? I think really with the money being thrown around right now is you can pinpoint it more in basketball, if that makes sense, because you only have 13 scholarships. Football, you have 80 plus. So you're not throwing, $80 million around kind of deal. Now you might give a guy, maybe 250, whatever it may be. But that's kind of how it is and how that works in that perspective, where these football guys are going to be getting paid and they'll have, opportunities to go make money from sponsorships and their NIL agreements, and also have money-making opportunities with maybe even Adidas ? But yeah, they'll definitely have that. This from Jacob Harris. He was at OU last year talking about Matt Wells. I could have sworn he was at Kansas State. That's on me. I knew he was at a Big 12 school. I apologize. Let's see. This from Tom. Chatter is that Big 12 is beating each other up during conference play and then limping into March Madness. Yeah, I think that there's some validity to that for sure. That being said, they're the most battle-tested, and that's why you're seeing Texas Tech prioritize depth so much more, because it's going to be a gauntlet, not only in the Big 12, but you have to make sure that you have enough bodies ready to go into the tournament. And so you have to think about it from that way too. Let's see. Beard's pay hit him pretty after he was fired from Texas. Being antsy doesn't pay off sometimes. I don't know what that's in regards to. I apologize. This is going to be Grant's first year with his team. I can't wait. That's from Isaac. Yeah, that's true in a lot of ways. That's definitely true. There's no doubt about that. Let's see. Corey says, RC, you're hitting home runs with your videos and the information is pure gold. I appreciate that, Corey. Thank y'all again for everybody tuning in here. We'll go a few more minutes here on the channel. Let's see. This from Devontae. What are the future plans with the channel /SBI? Do you plan on covering all sports at Texas Tech? I like the football and basketball main coverage, but I'm a major baseball fan. I will not lie to you, Devontae, and anybody else watching for that matter. College baseball is one of the hardest sports to cover when you are not on the ground, like actually in that city covering it. That's why D1 baseball, what they do is legendary, in my opinion. They're the source that I trust the most too when it comes to Texas Tech baseball and really anything else college baseball. So to be honest with you, probably not. We'll probably, mention it here and there when, they deserve a shout out in terms of something good happening, whether that's for soccer, volleyball, everything in between, track and field. I mean, shoot, we shouted them out when they won the national title with Coach Kitley. But really, we're going to prioritize here on the channel football, everything football related, and everything men's basketball, because I would be feeding you a lot of, honestly, probably crap if I was trying to pretend like I could cover baseball or any other sport like at a full-time capacity for Texas Tech. And I don't think that's fair to anybody. Mavs or Wolves? Come on, son. Come on. Mavs and 6. This from Lawrence. I like drinking while doing anything. LOL. It's always beer season. He gets me. Lawrence gets me. He gets me. And for that, Lawrence, appreciate you. This from Ty Rogers. Under 90 in golf game is good, but a 6-pack while doing it, RC. You went to Tech. Them are rookie numbers. You're right. You're right. You're right, Ty. That's on me. Next Thursday when I go golfing, I will be sure to at least bring 12. And if I don't finish 12, I might have to get rid of that piece of paper right there. It's tough times that we live in. Tough times. Whew. Let's see. Need these guys' parents to step up their Twitter game. We went from Vice home to Richard Isaacs. That's a hell of a downgrade. No, man. Like, here's the thing. I know Pop's dad. Like, we used to talk quite a bit. I think he's a good dude. A little out there. I think he even knows that. But overall, good dude. I won't say anything too bad about him on that front. Will the Texas Tech Collective leave some money to bump up Williams, Cambridge, McMillan, and Their NIL deals. That from Fernando. Yeah, I think that's possible. Just how much, I don't know. But I do think that there's probably a little bit of a possibility there that they get a little bit of a pay increase and whatnot. Yeah, sure. Why not? For sure. Especially with the amount of money that's supposedly running in, you know what I mean? This from Tom RC Pablo Cruz. What? Maybe I am dumb. I don't know. It is what it is. Ty, how many 6'11" or bigger bigs are in the Big 12 that would make small ball the most difficult for us? 3 teams come to mind: Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor. Everything else I think you could manage, at least how it currently stands right now. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel in that regard. Now, Arizona. Sorry, I forgot Arizona's in there too. So yeah, those 4. I mean, the four teams, in all honesty, probably going to be picked to finish at the top of the Big 12 when it comes to the preseason poll. Those 4 teams. Let's see. Jason, Alexis, maybe Darian needs to talk to Dak about taking less for the team. Yeah, maybe. Hey, get your bag if you can. Also, Tom, you said you were going cruising RC. Yeah, Tom, like I said, I'm dumb. I got it after. It clicked in my head. It really did. Yeah. It's been a day, man. It's been a day. No, but yeah, should be a fun cruise. I think we're going to Mexico, Puerto Rico, and I want to say the Bahamas or something like that. So definitely we'll be rocking some tech gear abroad. That's for sure. Ryan, I'm going to block you if you say anything about Go Wolves again. I mean it. I mean it. Don't get on my dark side like the NCAA, sir, or that gaudy orange down south here in this state. Don't do it, Ryan. Don't do it. All right. This from Dylan. Wish you covered baseball the same way you do basketball. Yeah, man. I tried it for a little bit here on the channel. It's just so hard, and I don't think it's fair to you guys to give like half-ass coverage. I really don't. I just don't think it is. It's one of those deals where it's like, I know the game of baseball well. It's my favorite sport, full transparency, but it's so hard to cover college baseball, when you're not there in that city. It's just kind of how it is. This from Isaac, we're going to have depth this year. Yeah, I think Texas Tech, their priority is to be, 10, 11 deep. I truly believe that. This from Dwayne. What do you think about the new research that was getting passed around on X? It was about Tech's being number 1 in revenue and number 1 fan base in the Big 12. I'm not shocked. Are you? I've been known that Texas Tech has the best fan base in the Big 12. I know that Texas Tech has the best fan base, the most passionate fan base in America. That's not me trying to spew some bullshit to you guys. It's like, I see you guys each and every day. I interact with you guys each and every day. I know that shit. It's about damn time everybody else gets to see that. Like, I know. Trust me, I got the numbers to back it up. Here on the channel, again, there's not very many Big 12 YouTube channels that are independent, that are owned by, a Rivals, a 24/7, or other major big-time corporation, right? Like, that do independent work, that have 10,000 subs. And that's because of you guys and the passion behind things. I'm passionate just like you guys. I love talking to you guys. I've been known that Texas Tech, I've been known that Texas Tech has the most passionate fan base in the Big 12 and the most passionate fan base in the country, with the revenue aspect of it. And then also, the fan base and the views, like, yeah, hell yeah, man. Yeah. There's a reason no other fan base wants to deal with Texas Tech on Twitter. Texas Tech Twitter and the army of it is a real thing, man. It's a real thing. This from Dwayne as well. RC Talk's a big game for someone who's never even been fishing. All right, Wayne. NCAA, Wayne, that close now. Watch yourself. Sure. Watch it. All right. Corey, enjoy your trip, RC. Have fun and tell us all about your trip when you get back. Yeah, I just hope I don't look like a lobster, man. Shout out to the Amanda Show. If y'all know that, I will look like a lobster probably because I suck at reapplying sunscreen. But I appreciate you, Corey, a lot. This from Ryan, Texas Tech women's tennis doubles. Yeah, I saw they advanced to the Elite Eight, first time in program history. Shout out to those ladies. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, for sure. That's huge. Women's tennis is legitimately one of the better programs on campus. There's no doubt about that. And then the Smooth Toad said Cincy up 4-3 on Texas. Loser is out of the Big 12 tournament, top of the 6. So there you go. Texas Tech with a midnight miracle, quote unquote, last night in Arlington. I saw a stat where that McGee home run that gave Texas Tech a 2-run lead only goes out in that ballpark. Nuts, but he was in that ballpark, so screw it. Yeah, there you go. That's going to do it. I'm going to wrap it up there, and I'm going to go drink a cerveza before the Mavs start. I appreciate each and every one of you guys that are in here. Again, we had over 150 people in here at one time. Appreciate all your passion and support of the channel. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell, and head on over to the Scarlet and Black Insider, where we're giving you up-to-date information on everything Texas Tech at the drop of a hat, whether it's Austin Massey, Jacob Harris, or myself. Be a part of the fastest growing Texas Tech community on the internet today over on the scarletandblackinsider.com. And again, hey, it is what it is. Oh, this is from Ty. One last question. Heard it here news first you haven't posted yet, but you can hint to? I mean, I think the biggest one is what I said about Toppin earlier, in the sense that, that text that I received saying it's done, like from one source. Everybody that I've talked to about it, they all would be pretty damn surprised if JT Toppin, if he, doesn't go into the NBA draft and does return to college, they'd be surprised if he wasn't a Red Raider at this point. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Again, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball and football all year long right here on the most engaging and largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel.